Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good night, or good morning to everyone listening. Welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream. Today, it is joined by two Americans. My first one is I have Dan, and I'm joined by my fellow compatriot Ben. Ben, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. I, you know, a little disappointed that we had a great transfer signing and then we don't somehow. We had him and he's gone. But I will say, I think I'm pleased that we got a draw. It could have been
Mhm,
worse. Obviously, I
mhm,
wish we won. But I feel like a draw is it's fair for what it was. But
mhm.
I'm a little concerned though. It's kind of hard to see who we could get at defensive midfield. I don't really like any of the options out there.
Oh, come on, man. We won't. Sangaria. We've always wanted Sangaria Decore. I understand that. Welcome everyone who is joining in. I just let you guys know that this is very impromptu. We'll be talking about a number of different subjects. We'll be going into the comments and responding to you guys as well. So get in there and respond to those comments. Um, and obviously, we will be talking more and more about the recent news concerning Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia's transfers. So, first of all, welcome everyone who's joined in. So, let's start off with the most immediate news. And since it's just me and Ben, I'm going to start off with Moises Caicedo. Obviously, I was in the live streams all last week just banging the drum about how at the end of the week I was just following the news constantly saying we're going to get Caicedo, we're going to get Caicedo, and then we got Caicedo, and then agency shenanigans happened and we didn't get Caicedo. We've been talking in the group chat, the WhatsApp group, these past few days, past few hours. And, when the deal looked like wasn't going to get done, obviously people started looking at, who's to blame, who takes the share of the blame of this transfer collapsing, anything. And, is this the ownership's fault? Do we blame, why were we in for him earlier? Is it Schmatka's fault? Is this, who's to blame for us not getting this over the line? I've ultimately come down on the side of that. Ultimately, the blame lies with Moises Caicedo's agency in many ways. I believe in many ways that this deal would have gone over the line if his agents didn't essentially leak everything to Chelsea to get a better deal. I don't blame Moises for choosing Chelsea if he wants the money, if he wants the big contract in many ways. But I think at the end of the day that what I got out of this transfer is that we obviously have the ambition to sign someone big, and the fact that we have it raises more questions, I think, than answers. But those are my general thoughts right now, and obviously I'll be responding to some people in the chat as well. But Ben, I want to hear your thoughts on the Moises Caicedo deal first.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw on Twitter was that his agent is kind of weird. His agent did some shady stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it just sucks. It seemed like we were gonna get him. It seemed like a done deal, and yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I mean, if he wants more money, going to Chelsea could make sense, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I was impressed with how Chelsea looked today. Actually, I thought they were
Mm.
gonna be really bad, but they actually looked pretty good. So that I kind of understand him wanting to go there a little more. But with that, because they aren't terrible,
Mm.
it seems. But yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, no,
Same.
it is. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely we'll have to see. I mean, yeah, I think when I saw Chelsea, I was expecting it to be a bit more chaotic, and it was at times, but we also saw how much quality they have, especially Enzo Fernandez, who I still don't think is a £107 million player, just as much as I don't think that Rice is a £105 million player, and Moises Caicedo is not a £115 million player, but we saw how much quality he had on the pitch, and we saw, that this Chelsea team does have like 11 players that could be a decent team. I will say though that they need a lot more players than just Caicedo, and we'll get into the Lavia transfer here shortly. But I want to start off by with some few questions from the that are talking about the game. So we're gonna talk about the game a little bit, guys, and just a little bit, and just kind of a little bit around it. So first off, was Jackson's handball a pin? I think that me and you are going to agree on this, but I want to hear what your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought it was going to be given a penalty the way they, and that's going off how they call handballs usually. Now, do I personally think I think it's a little harsh how the handball rule is now, how like that is,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look, like Van Dijk and Jota were like like behind him. They could have maybe like gone in and scored. I was kind of shocked that that wasn't a penalty. It's like, I don't know, his hand was like this, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And for me, I mean, for just a quick comment on the game, the biggest issue with me with that handball was the fact that it stopped the ball going to goal. So it hit his hand, and there's that probably ends up in the goal, or at least it deflects off somebody. We probably get a shot, or they kick it away. But either it's deliberate or it's in an unnatural position. I mean, it's in his body facing out. I mean, it's making his silhouette bigger. It's clearly it fits all the description of the handball rule. When I went through refereeing training over here in the Boston, but also in the States, that's the big thing we talk about. It's not just about unnatural position. It's like, does it make your silhouette bigger? Because if it makes your silhouette bigger, it's handball. Now, it doesn't matter if it's deliberate. It doesn't matter anything else. If you're making your silhouette bigger, you can give it as handball.
Dude, that's cool. I was a referee for like 3 or 4 years here.
Yeah, no, I know. Look, we're all referees. Listen, I did my referee badges. I need to go renew those. I do my coaching badges. Like we learn this stuff all the time. Now, obviously, I'm not a Premier League referee. I'm not NTT. I'm not VAR. And obviously, when you're in that situation, you're making split-second calls. But I just thought that because of VAR, like that's just something they would have gone in on. But yeah, we'll as well. Ross, thank you for the.
There were a lot of bad calls. I'll say that.
Yeah, Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor's not a fair referee for the most part. So obviously, Ross, big up, guys. Yes, welcome everyone for joining again. Nearly 160 people are joining right now. I appreciate all of you guys here as well. Again, like I said, we're going to be kind of going through comments, talking a little bit off the cuff. We're going to talk more about the Caicedo transfer and the Lavia transfer here in a second. So first off, I want to, moving on from the game just a little bit, I want to talk about the other news coming in, which is the idea of not Moises Caicedo, but Romeo Lavia. The fact that he's a player we were linked to, pretty much going all the way back to June, which will be almost coming on a month and a half now. And it looks like, as we can kind of see from some of these comments here, that the reports coming in from Sasha, I can't say his last name, but the Belgian journalist, is that he has said his goodbyes to Southampton and he is dead set on joining Chelsea. Now, we'll get into this more details, but just to kind of quickly with my thoughts, and then I'll ask you, and then guys who stream, guys and gals, and anybody else who is watching right now, I'll ask your thoughts in the comments and I'll respond to them. My thoughts on this whole transfer is that Liverpool obviously were not going to go back in for him once they bid for Caicedo. They weren't going to rate him. They weren't going to match Southampton's valuation of him. So for me, when they moved to Caicedo and put that bid in, that was with the idea, we don't rate Lavia. Someone else can come at Lavia. We're going to put it all in on Caicedo. That's my initial thoughts. So I'm not shocked that Chelsea are probably going to end up with him. It is frustrating. It is very frustrating because we've been linked with him and we obviously need a defensive midfielder so badly. But those are my thoughts on it at the moment. Ben, what are yours, and everyone else in the comments? Please put yours as well on the recent reports that Romeo Lavia is going to be signing for Chelsea. So what are your thoughts, Ben?
I don't know, man. I didn't even really know who he was until we started like hyping him up. Like the Liverpool Twitter accounts are like Lavia, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's amazing, he's amazing." And I was like, I didn't even really know who he was. Maybe I'm just like not up to date with all this stuff. So I mean, it does seem expensive for a guy who's like on a championship team, and he's like 19. I don't know if he's really proven himself to be worth that amount. So that just doesn't seem like our style, to buy someone like that.
Yeah, and I would also say it's not our style to usually go in with a £111 million bid for a player like Moises Caicedo on the verge of joining Chelsea in many ways. And just for clarification here, guys, it is not official. It has not been Fabrizio Romano. Here we go. It has not been David Ornstein, Mel Reddied, insert any major journalist here. But the journalist in Belgium who's been following this story, it has pretty much been saying that it's almost pretty much a done deal. So while it's not officially official yet, it looks like that this is imminent. And there seems to be, as far as we can tell from other sources, from lower tier sources to more reliable sources, that the Liverpool have not returned a bid as well. So Ben, if we don't get Lavia, who is your player that you want instead of him? Because we are going to have to sign someone. I mean, listen, I love Badgetich and Thiago and even McConnell, who's been here, but it's obvious we need to sign someone. So what is your contingency plan? You're in LFC's analytics room, their transfer room. What are you saying? It's like, all right, we have 110 million pounds we need to spend. What are we going to do with it?
Well, maybe we could get like a defensive midfielder and a defender. You know, if this was FIFA career mode and I had the pick of the cream of the crop, you know, I'd go get Camavinga or something or Chouameni. But it seems like, you know, that both those would be impossible. I know Joao Paulinho, he's pretty solid. It's almost like he's like what I saw, he's going for like 70 million and like he's like 28 or something. It's just, you know, I really don't know. If we could get him for like cheap 40 million or something, I just don't see that. But
yeah, from Fulham. Yeah, I don't think Fulham would sell below like, you know, like they'd probably say like, okay, we'll take that 111 million for, you know, Moises Caicedo, please. Yeah, no, because I think the last link we had to Joao Paulinho from Fulham was around 80 million pounds was what they wanted. And I think that Liverpool probably went like, yeah, we're not spending that money as well. What do you think of Florentino Luis? This is someone that obviously me and Harmony have talked about a lot. There's been some stat shows done by other YouTube channels, and other Liverpool fans have put out information there about it as well. As well. So I want to know what your thoughts are about Florentino Luis.
he's the defensive mid at Benfica, right?
Yeah, he is.
I don't know, man. I haven't really watched him play, so I mean, Benfica produces a lot of good players, but I personally just haven't watched him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think many of us have watched him like in depth, but if you look at his stats in many ways, he does seem to be the most like Rodri, like Firmino player there as well. Also, Ben, this is gonna be great. We have another person joining, so I'm gonna see if I can add him real quick. So
Cool.
let me see if I can add Harmony. Harmony, my man, you're in. How are you? I just saw you there.
Yeah, how you
First time
doing?
in the hell. Listen, Harmony, I just want to apologize to you for all the hope I gave you, and I hope you can forgive me over these past couple days. You know, I'm so sorry. I owe you a hug, Ben. I owe you a pie. I owe you
Oh
dinner.
man,
Like, I'm so sorry, Ben. I don't know if you were watching the stream the past couple days, but I was giving Harmony so much hope, man. We were all on the dopamine train together. But how are you holding up, Harmony?
yeah, you
That's
have to laugh though. You just have
no,
to laugh.
I agree. I agree. Listen, if I don't laugh at this, if I don't laugh about all of this, it's just gonna absolutely destroy me. And I refuse to let
Yeah,
Chelsea or Chelsea fans destroy my hopes and dreams. Like, you know, they bought Fernando Torres, so you know, there's always hope that they buy Moises Caicedo and he ends up being a Fernando Torres. You know, so at this point, that's just like I'm just praying on all the goodwill I have. So, Harmony, since you're in here, I want to hear your thoughts on Florentino Luis. I know me and you have been pushing that propaganda train. Ben hasn't hopped on that propaganda train yet, so let's share some propaganda.
yeah, yeah. No, honestly, he was my first option when it came down. We were talking about the DM. I was really rooting for him, really and truly. But after I saw his release clause, I kind of just lost all hope because of the ownership that we have. But clearly, they have shown that they do have the money and they do have the capacity to actually pay for these 100 million pound players.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see why we can't go for him and bid for him because he has a release clause, so we don't have to deal with a club. We ain't got to deal with no negotiations. All we just have to do is just make sure we have that personal contract and play a contract done with him, an agreement with him as well and his agent, and just make sure that he actually turns up to the bloody medical, not like Casado and sits and instead of
Mm-hmm.
sitting in Portugal and pretending he wants to go somewhere else. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think if anything, with these last two transfers have kind of taught us, you know, and again, guys, just for clarification, those who are saying if it is Lavia off to Chelsea, it's not official yet. It hasn't been officially released by any major journalist, but obviously Sasha, who has been following this in Belgium, and he's the big journalist, he's pretty much saying he's off to Chelsea, and he has been on top of the transfer for the longest time. So it's looking very, very likely this will happen, if not tomorrow after Caicedo's medical, but probably in the next couple of days as well. So obviously, we're in a very sticky situation here where Liverpool are going to need to sign not just players, but like very specific types of players who are, who are going to fit very specialist roles like left center back and defensive mid. So Ben, I'm going to come back to you. Obviously, I met me and Romeo and Moises Caicedo. We were on Moises Caicedo, but now we moved on to Florentino Luis. So Ben, who would be your ideal defensive mid signing right now? Like ideal, like again, like you have all the power in the world. Who are you bringing to Jurgen Klopp? You're saying, Jurgen, I am here to make your year better. What are you bringing?
Oh man, I mean, if I could choose anyone and there's no restrictions, like Chouameni or Camavinga would be amazing. But that's that would never happen. I don't think.
I have a theory.
Okay.
Madrid need to sign defenders. They sign Ignacio. We buy Chouameni. We buy Aurelien Chouameni for 111 million, which £1 million was around 120 euros. What do you think about that? Do you think Madrid say yes?
Well, didn't Chouameni, wasn't he liking stuff on Twitter that he was like stuff that was like anti-Liverpool? Like he was like,
yeah, but let's be honest though. Liking stuff on Twitter is not indicative of the fact that if Liverpool went to Aurelien Chouameni and say, hey, we'll give you, let's say spitball here, we'll match your wage at Madrid or pretty close to it. And, you can play for Jurgen Klopp. We have a relationship with his representatives, so we know them. You'll come in, you'll be our starter for the next 5 years. Obviously, you're going from Champions League Madrid to Liverpool and Europa League, which is not a step down in terms of size, in terms of brand recognition, because Liverpool is up there with Madrid, even though we consider Madrid the best because they have statistically been the best over the past 20 years. Is there a world in where Aurelien Chouameni does come to Liverpool? Harmony, I want your thoughts on this.
No. I'm sorry, Ben. No. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not trying to big up Hove. I'm trying to imagine what the next step is because we can obviously afford him. So it's not a question of price. And I think that's the thing right now. And I think that's important for us to understand as, commentators and as Liverpool fans, the fact that the issue has never been what can Liverpool afford? It's more what do they value at? And what cash we have up front. So let's say, okay, Harmony, let's say Florentino Luis, we can't deal with him. Benfica want 120 up front. We can't match that. We have the money, but we need to pay over time. We can't do the upfront fee release clause like we did with Silvaslai. Who do you go? If it's not Chouameni, it's not Luis. Who are we going for next?
At that point, I really don't know. I think it might have to be the Crystal Palace one. What was his name? I can't remember.
Check the Corey.
Yeah, it might have to be him because I feel like it's all well and good that we want the Chouamenis, we want the Luises, but we got to remember we also need a centre back. So depending on how the owners are feeling, and especially how they're seeing they've just been embarrassed by Chelsea not once but twice, depending on if Lavia actually goes. If they're actually willing to spend the money and actually back Klopp this time, I think then I would say, I'll say go for the Crystal Palace defensive midfielder, just because I feel like they're not gonna. I hope not. I hope they don't ask for 100 million because that would be ridiculous. Honestly, I wouldn't mind us paying about 70, 60 for him, and then going for someone like an Inacio in defense because I feel like he has everything that we need. Honestly, the passing range, he plays the position that we need him to play as well, and he just has so many attributes that's going to suit that Klopp side, and he's going to give us so much more balance in that midfield, in that defense, and he's going to give us more balance in the midfield because we're going to feel more comfortable defending because we have 3 centre backs that can defend, that can pass, that can move the ball around as well. So that's how I'm looking at it. But really and truly, I don't see why we can't get Luis because like I said, we ain't got to deal with the club. All we have to do is just literally pay for the release clause, and the player's basically ours, barring that if he even wants to leave the club or not. But I don't see why he would want to leave. But
yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And listen, we have like over 400 people watching right now. Welcome everyone. Jeez. Welcome. I know it's absolutely buzzing off right now. like when there's positive news or negative news, we're misery brings company, and so does happiness. So at this point, I'm gonna try to speak some happiness into our realm of misery at the moment. So listen, guys, like, subscribe if you want more content like this. We do stream just about every day. We have emerged streams like this where we talk about breaking news. Like I said, I'm Dan. This is Ben. This is Harmony. We got two Americans. We got one man from London himself. Harmony, I don't know how close you are to Stamford Bridge, but maybe you need to go kidnap Caicedo. Allegedly, I won't say anything.
Don't worry. If anything changes, you might see me. I might just make a little video of me and him in the cab.
Allegedly. Yeah. And listen, I've seen some comments in here talking about the ownership group in FSG, and obviously we can have a more in-depth discussion about FSG a little bit later. I don't want to get into that just yet, just because we could go on for like all night and all day, and I want to get some rest and sleep. Everyone needs some sleep. My wife wants to sleep as well, so I think we'll get into there eventually as well. But so that's Lavia. But Harmony, I know I've already mentioned this, but and I want more of your thoughts on this. What were your thoughts from the game today? I know you were on the stream today. I just want to give me a brief summary of your thoughts about what you've seen. Obviously, you mentioned Ignacio, a DM. If we don't get either of those players, do you have a solution? Do you have any idea of the solution, or have you given up all hope?
Nah, then I'm giving up all hope. I'm sorry. I'm giving up on top 4. I'm giving up on top 5. Honestly, I don't see it, because you can clearly see with a Chelsea team that don't really have a great midfield, how they literally shredded us apart, especially in that midfield. They literally had control of that midfield. If it wasn't for McAllister and some Szoboszlai's, constant pressing, constant point, I genuinely feel like we could have really lost that game really, really badly. The defense was not solid. Trent was caught out of position plenty of times. Robinson got caught out of position so many times. If Van Dijk and Konate was not on the top, like at the top of the game, we would have lost that game. And also Alisson would have lost that game at least 5-6-0, 5-6-1. That's how bad it was, honestly.
Yeah.
There was some positives to take from it. Szoboszlai played really well. McAllister played really well, even though they were out of position, I should say. Elliot came on. He did all right. Jones, he did okay as well. I feel like Klopp should have started with either Gakpo or
Nunez.
Or Nunez, because I feel like if Nunez was up there, that Chelsea defense would took another 5-yard back, because they can't allow someone like Nunez running in behind. So it would have made them more cautious. It would have made them more less adventurous to go off to push forward, because they knew we didn't have that much speed in that attack. They felt like they can do whatever they wanted, because Jota's not the fastest striker that you don't have to worry about pace. You probably have to worry about his movement. But if you had someone like Nunez up there, I feel like it would have been better. Or even a Gakpo, because he would have been able to link up that midfield with the attack. That was one of the other problems we had. The midfield and the attack was so disjointed that they weren't playing together, and it was so hard for us to either release the pressure by attacking them as well. But because they were so disjointed, those two sides of the pitch, we couldn't get the ball out on half. So Chelsea constantly kept getting the ball back and just recycling the ball and just playing it and putting us under more pressure. So yeah, it was a difficult game to watch. It was a very, very difficult game to watch.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I felt like that we never had control, and that's kind of the issue with having a defensive mid, is that we never felt control of the game, and I felt like our pressing structure was off, and we couldn't keep the ball. And I know exactly what you mean as well. I feel like that when you have McAllister as your defensive mid, if you don't have a Jones, if you don't have a Thiago or a Bajcetic, you're just not going to get control of that pressing as well. Yeah. Some other quick news, guys, that just broke recently. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but if you were a Jack Harrison fan, he's off to Everton. So I hate to bring it to everyone. But also some more interesting news from the Caicedo deal. And after this Caicedo deal, we'll move on and talk about some more broader implications of what this transfer means. Yeah. And I feel like this is where we're going to get the most spiciest conversation, especially in the chat. And again, thank you everyone for joining in, and please keep those comments going. I am reading them, guys, even though I'm not posting them right now, but we'll move on to more pure chat talk once I kind of get everyone's thoughts in for everything else. So David Ornstein reported that part of the approved deal that Brighton accepted was that the add-ons were attainable, and that they had offered up more money than Liverpool, which was always something that we had mentioned. Me and James mentioned in the chat as well that may be a thing for them as well. So first off, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Ben, I'm going to start with you first. Does FFP exist, and does the sustainability model of the Premier League exist? And if it does, where is it? Because I want to have a word with them in many ways. And I think John Henry does too, because he's in London trying to find that FFP that he's been hearing about for 13 years since he bought the club. And two, I want to start and the second question, and Harmony, you can jump in after this as well. And you can give your thoughts. The first question is, what are the implications of Chelsea essentially at this point seem like they're going to spend 165 million pounds, most of it up front for two midfielders? So Ben, first off, your thoughts on FFP.
I mean, you're right. It doesn't really exist. And that's, it's not just football. It's kind of just how the world works. You got money, you can pretty much do whatever. It's like, you're rich, you get a speeding ticket. Okay. Who cares? You can speed all you want.
No, absolutely. That's the thing. If your punishment's a fine, then it just means that it's only a punishment if you're poor. So in Liverpool's case, it's only we only take FFP seriously because we're not as cash. We don't have as much cash on hand as other clubs, or rather and you can see that throughout the league with the teams that get punished with the most FP fines are Championship, League One, and League Two. So they have to follow it because they don't have money on hand. But for Chelsea, they can just break rules. So Harmony, I'll come to you as well. What are your thoughts on FFP? And then I will branch out into more of the ramifications. So first off, what are your thoughts on FFP as well?
I've got two people that I'm mad at. First, I'm mad at you for giving me hope with the whole Caicedo deal.
I'm sorry.
I'm mad at Stephen. He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still there. So Stephen, if you're there, please comment so I know you're there, so you can hear what I'm about to say to you. I'm mad at you because you gave me hope with the whole FFP thing. I'm thinking, yes, they're gonna strike and stop them from getting that deal done. So I'm mad at both of you. So that's the reason why. But going back to the subject, I don't believe it actually exists because look at what's going on with the whole situation with the Caicedo situation, and look at what they've done last season. They have spent almost literally £1 billion within 18 months, basically. That is ridiculous. They can't say that in revenue they have brought in £1 billion in revenue for them to spend that much. Honestly, they haven't. They can't say that. And if they do say that, they need to show this proof, because this FFP thing is a joke. It's an actual joke. For them to allow clubs to be doing this, to be ruining the sport that we love, to be ruining the league that we love by just pumping in money every single season, every single transfer window without anybody monitoring it. How could we be criticizing the Saudi league when we are doing exactly the same thing and nothing's happening? So it makes absolutely no sense. So I you know what? I take back everything I said about the Saudi league. I applaud them because we're doing basically the same thing. So like, what is the difference? There's no difference between us and the Saudi league, because the clubs are doing it all the time and nothing's happening. So yeah.
Alex, I want to read this comment. Alex, I don't think anybody knows what FFP means anymore. I think that's the problem. It's like we were all told something, and now it feels like that those rules are not being enforced. So I think this is universal at this point. No one understands what it means anymore. That's the problem. No. When no one understands what the rules are, that's when that's when people who are trying to take advantage of rules, like in this case, not just Chelsea, but other clubs have as well. I don't want to just single out Chelsea. There are plenty of other clubs. There are an FFP investigation, like Man City, like Everton as well that are under investigation for alleged financial breaches. I mean, even Chelsea went to the board of the Premier League to say we're in breaches because of these shady dealings back under the Abramovich era. This was news that broke, I think, now 4 days ago. So, I think it's more about that no one really understands what it is anymore. So our expectations of what have been changed, and that's been the biggest problem. So let's move on to broader implications. And obviously, this is the first one. This is obviously the one that we're going to see a lot online from Liverpool fans, from fans in this chat as well. We all know them. We all love them, even though if we disagree. Harmony, I think I know where you stand on this, but, Ben, I want to hear from you first. And then Harmony, I hear from you, and then I'll talk about it, and then we'll move on to just purely comments, questions, until we decide to call it an evening. But first off, Ben, what is your opinion on the ownership group?
Geesh, I mean, I like what we did the past few years. We won the league, we won the Champions League, but there does come a time where, like, times have changed. Like all these teams are spending so much money. When you look at Man City, their bench is like could be competing for top four.
Mm.
You know, it's like we need more depth, and I think that's just the reality is we need to spend more, and they're kind of like living in the past with this like old school model. So yeah, I think change could make sense. As long as we don't get sold to someone worse.
Yeah, no, I understand the implication. So, Harmony, I'll move back to you. I'm pretty sure I know what your feelings, but I want to give you a chance to kind of air those feelings out for the
Yeah.
people. Tell them how you feel, both positive and negative. Give me your thoughts, man.
Yeah, no, the positive, like just like Ben said, with them coming in, we have seen the most successful period of Liverpool within almost 30 years. We winning the Champions League, winning the Premier League, winning the FA Cup, winning the Carabao Cup, winning the FIFA World Cup, winning the Super League. We've done all of those things under FSG. So I can't sit here and say they haven't done anything for the club, because that wouldn't be true. But for me to sit here and say they've done everything they could for the club, that wouldn't be true, because if
Mhm.
that was the case, then we wouldn't be in this position at all. We wouldn't be needing 4 or 5 midfielders. We wouldn't be needing a whole rebuild. It would have been a thing where we just need to add a bit a few pieces here and there to just continue building and just strengthening the team. And I think I said it a couple of times within the last couple of streams we've done. I think that if if the owners had the ambitions that we felt we as us fans do, they should have strengthened when we won the Premier League. They should
Mhm.
have strengthened us when we won the Champions League. They should have strengthened when they saw us go a whole season without a centre back and Fabinho had to play there, and we had to settle for Kabak. Like, come on,
Mhm.
like honestly, you're seeing your team struggle like that, and you're literally just watching this man go down. If it wasn't for Alisson header, we wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League that season.
Mhm.
You know, and
Mhm.
what makes it worse, we gone a whole season nearly doing the quad, and yet you still don't strengthen the team. What more does Klopp have to do? What more
Mhm.
does he have to show you
Mhm.
for you to actually feel like, okay, you know what, we need to start putting money into this club. We need to start putting money. We need to start backing this guy, because
Mhm.
he has proven again and again and again, constantly, that he can actually do something with this club if he just has the backing. But
Mhm.
clearly, it means nothing. Now all of a sudden, you want to show your face to the first game of the season. For what? What was the point of you coming down? You didn't do nothing. You're wearing your
Mhm.
sunglasses. Clearly, you don't care. Like we don't want you here. We want
Mhm.
you to spend money, not for you to come in the first game of the season with your kid and your wife and sit there with your sunglasses, thinking that you look cool. No, you don't. You look like a clown. Like, just go back to America. It's so frustrating. You don't understand. It is so frustrating
Mhm.
for constantly sitting here, constantly talking about the same thing. We know the
Mhm.
chat, and people in the chat, they don't want to hear us complain about FSG. They want to hear us talking
Mhm.
about how Liverpool's growing, or what player is going to come next, how what Klopp is doing tactically. They want
Mhm.
to hear these things. They don't want us talk. They don't want to hear us talking about the owners, but we have to,
Mhm.
because of the situation that we're in. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, and unfortunately that's what we have to continuously do until these owners show some sort of ambition, that they
Mhm.
actually go back and support this club. And before I
Mhm.
end my obviously my rant, guys, there's about 400 of you in the stream. Make sure you smash that like button. Come on, let's try to get to 150 before the stream ends. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's 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 what I have to say, really and truly.
No, we're going to 200, man. I'm gonna keep this going all night. It's like all night radio. Just keeping it slow, keeping it easy, getting those things off our chest. So, all of that being said, Harmony, I feel like this is a great question from Chris. Which blows up
Yeah.
first, Chelsea's finances or our lack of depth or quality? So, Ben, I'm gonna come back to you.
Uh, Probably our lack of depth and quality.
Are you sure? Are you sure? I mean, are you sure about that? I mean, Chelsea really only have like 15 players. Like, even if they sign Caicedo Lavia, they're still lacking a lot of players.
But what? But like their I don't see their finances like ever blowing up in their face. Honestly,
Mhm. That's true. That is true. What about you, Harmony?
What was the question, sir?
So it's Chris's question. What blows up first, Chelsea's finances or Liverpool's lack of quality depth
Oh
or
yeah,
depth?
I agree. I agree. It's definitely it's definitely Liverpool's lack of quality. I don't see this situation with the Chelsea thing getting solved anytime soon. It'll probably be the
Mm,
same thing with the whole Man City situation. How they're going to wait another 5 years for them to create to do more, break the financial situation that they're really in right now. and continue just ruining the game and just spending how much they want until they do something about it. By then it'll be too late. So yeah, I don't see anything changing, honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think in the end, it'll probably end up being our lack of depth that'll do us, because even with the thing about financial charges, and this is what Todd Bowley is expecting on, is that it takes so long for the legal process, litigation to go through, unless for some reason it's criminal. But with these litigation charges, because it'll probably be tied up in sports regulatory courts, like it just takes so long for these things to get done. We probably won't get a conclusion in like maybe like 5 to 10 years, which is the frustrating part. All right, so I want to move on to, let's talk about what Jimmy said here. So he says, what changes after Sobo? So obviously Dominic Szoboszlai, who we signed at the end of June, nothing for weeks, then late on Caicedo. It said, did Klopp SOS FSG? What? Like I'm guessing you mean that by this Jimmy used that. Did Klopp try to single FSG to give him a hand as well? I'll answer this real quick, and then I'll come to you guys as well. I think it was very much down to the fact that they saw an opportunity in the past couple of weeks, and they put it in there with the idea that they would get him. Like, don't bid for players that they don't think they can get. And in the end, I feel like we got played for fools by both the agency, really the agents in this case, more than Caicedo or even more than Chelsea, because it still took days for Chelsea to even propose a bid that was imminent for like 2 or 3 days. So what do you think, Harmony? And then I'll come to you, man. Do you think this was a SOS from Klopp to FSG?
I think, you know what, it's a bit difficult to answer that question, because until Thursday, we weren't really in for Caicedo. We were more focused on Lavia. The Caicedo thing just kind of came out of the blue. So that's what's so baffling about the deal, was the fact that it just came out of the blue. All of a sudden, we're in for Caicedo. All of a sudden, we have a bunch of money stored up somewhere that he's been hiding, and all of a sudden, he wants to show it to the world now. And I feel like it's kind of our fault that we're in this position in the first place, because, like he said, Chelsea were in for this guy for months. They put in the groundwork. They spoke to this guy. They convinced him about their project. They convinced him about what they want to do and how essential he's going to be to that project. And for us to just come in and expect the guys just to drop off everything and just walk and come to us was a bit naive, a little bit, because we didn't put in that groundwork. We didn't really put in that effort that Chelsea did. And I get it. He would have came to Liverpool if it wasn't for his agent. But at the same time, we got to look at Brighton as well and say, what were you doing? Because you said to everybody, you put out to the world that there's the deadline. Midnight is the deadline. You put your bid in, and whoever's highest bidder gets the player. But now all of a sudden you're backtracking and saying, oh, we're going to give Chelsea time to. No, you gave them enough time to do these things, and they clearly didn't value the player enough, because they kept coming in with lowball evaluations with 60 millions, the 80 millions. It makes no sense. If we came in as a Liverpool, and we said, "Hey, here's the money," the player should have been ours. It should have been a thing where Brighton should have said to Chelsea, "You know what? I'm sorry, we dealt with you. You didn't win this. You didn't win the bid. Done. We're not having no more conversations with you." Caicedo, you either go to Liverpool or you come back to training and you're playing the next game. That's what it should have been. It should have never got to the point where they reopened the conversation with Chelsea. So it's just a mix up of so many things. How can we allow an agent to influence so much, to cause so much commotion within these last couple of days, where you got Liverpool fans not sleeping, you got Liverpool fans stressing, going crazy, you got Chelsea fans, poking fun at Liverpool fans now because we thought we're gonna get the player. Us coming on late night making videos saying, "Oh, Caicedo's coming." Now that's literally just memes that's going to be made about us for years to come now. And I just don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. So Jamie is going to whine about Chelsea for weeks, not to hire club's issues. Listen, I will whine about Chelsea to the end of time because they ruined my childhood in so many different ways. But again, just for clarification, this is not an FSG apologist YouTube channel or FSG apologist stream. This is very much a situation where, like talking through the stress of the past few days of being a Liverpool fan. And I'm right there with you, Harmony, because I did not sleep that entire night because of the news. I was constantly refreshing and I didn't wake up, and it completely ruined my day, and I completely forgot what time zone I was in. Ben, I want to hear what Ben, I want to hear what your thoughts are, man. What were your thoughts on this coming out of the blue? Do you think it was also a SOS from Klopp to FSG?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But I agree with Harmony. It is kind of messed up. Brighton said, "Here's the deadline. We put the money in," and then they were like, "Oh wait, we can get more money." Psych. But I mean, they are kind of like a club that doesn't have a lot of money, so I don't really blame them. But it just sucks for us, you know.
Yeah, no, it does, and I think Harmony mentioned this. I don't know if Max the chat's mentioned this. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've been reading it as we go along. But a lot of transfers are based on the idea of goodwill, and I feel like in this situation, Liverpool went into this with like the best intentions. We're going to make the bid. We bid more than Chelsea. Why is our deal not being honored? And in this situation, I like obviously Brighton under no. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good, man. It's okay. I understand how I can come off, so I understand. I'm not here to yell at you, man, and single you out, but it's perfectly understandable. But just to get through this, I think that it operates on the basis of goodwill and good intentions, and I feel that Liverpool went into it with this is what we're doing, this is what we're offering. If Brighton had rejected Liverpool's bid and accepted Chelsea's for whatever reason, that would have been fine. But frustrated, we lost out. The fact that they did the deadline and then Brighton are under no obligation to honor it. And if there are any Brighton fans in the chat, I'm not blaming you for getting this transfer to the line. Obviously, it takes more than one party to get transfer happen. But it just comes back into these larger things where we try to operate from a place of goodwill. FSG try to do this model like that. I think at this point we're starting to see as naive that we're going to operate in good faith and everyone's going to be acting in good faith with us. And it's kind of blown up in their face. And also FSG have not always operated in good faith as well. So this is, again, not a defense of them, but more of trying to get through it as well. Now, to move on, because we need to move on in our lives, which is the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing in life is not getting let down. It's trying to pick yourself up again and move on with the rest of your day. So Vanessa, who's been in a lot of our chats, and she made a comment here, was that she had mentioned Kimmich, and he's been someone that we've been looking to as a 6. Now, I will mention Thomas Tuchel's comments after the Bayern Munich Liverpool preseason game, where he says we don't have a 6, and he doesn't really see Kimmich as a 6. What are you guys' opinions on Kimmich? Did you watch the DFK Pokal game between RB Leipzig and Bayern Munich, or did you guys just watch the highlights?
Yeah, go on, Ben.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I saw the Danny Olmo goal.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game. Yeah.
But Harmony, what did you just watch it, man, or did you hear about it?
I watched a bit of it. I really truly I only watched it because I wanted to see Carvalho and Kane. I wasn't really interested in the game, but I watched it, and Kimmich looked good. He looked good. You can tell he was controlled, even though they lost the game. Don't get me wrong. Me saying that he looked good and he played well, obviously, is contradicted because they lost 3-0. But please, that's not always the guy's fault. It was a factor of so many other things that went on in that game. But he did look good, and I when I was watching him, I was just picturing him in a Liverpool top. How would he function in that Liverpool team? How would he cope in the Premier League? And I don't feel like it will take him that long to adapt to the league, because really he has so much experience, and I feel like having him in there is going to help us. It would help us in so many different ways, because he can cover that right hand side if Trent push bombs up forward, and doesn't always have to be Konate pushing out to the right hand side to cover Trent. So he comes with so many benefits, and he knows how to control the game. Like that Chelsea game, all we needed was someone just to calm everybody down and just move the ball. But we didn't have no one like that. Everyone was just panicking. Everyone was just going here, gone hold, and trying to get the ball. But there was no composure. There was no lack of composure in that midfield. And someone like him in games like that will be so essential, because he's been in those moments. So he will know, okay, you know what, now it's time for us to kill the game a little bit. Let's take this thing out of the game. Let's take the momentum away from them by keeping the ball, by moving it about, and then try again. But we never had someone like that in the game. And I feel like that's something that's what we're missing. And so if we can get him, and if Bayern is willing to sell him, then I wouldn't be I wouldn't have a problem with it at all because I feel like he'll be such a great addition. Oh, please, no, don't say that.
I know this man's a Chelsea fan that because he's mentioned we should buy Calvin Phillips from City, and I know that Liverpool are in no way, shape, or form going to buy Calvin Phillips from City. Like, so Alex wants us like you can tell the Chelsea fan he wants to buy us an injury prone that needs to be put in shape player. We already did that last year. Alex, his name was Arthur Melo. Like, I don't think that worked out very well for us. I appreciate your suggestion, but I don't think the suggestion was made in good faith. But I do. There was another one here that I do agree with, which was Yusuf Fofana. Let me see if I can bring it. Who was it? I know Jason, you were the one who put it. Here we go. Yusuf Fofana. Ben, thoughts on Yusuf Fofana?
I don't know, man.
Well, he was the partner to Chouameni, so Chouameni, if Chouameni is like the all-star who went there, is Fofana the guy who secretly made Chouameni the player he is?
Maybe. I just hope, I think someone in the chat said it, I just hope we don't just go for like a last minute, all right, let's just, go with this guy because we're desperate kind of signing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I'll make it easy for you. He's 6'1". Yes or no? He's 6'1". And he's 24.
That sounds good. Sounds good on paper. I know on FIFA he had some special cards. That's about the extent of my knowledge.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Listen, I've only seen Monaco play a few times, so I could appreciate that. Harmony, real quick thoughts on Fofana before I talk about one other player that we did miss out on, but someone we can still talk about.
For me, I don't know, to be honest with you, because I feel like all I want is just to go for the player that I want, which you already know who it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. Because honestly, I feel like at this point we shouldn't be trying to experiment. We should be trying to get a player that for experiment, especially in that position, because you can clearly see that we need someone in that position just to bring stability to the team. So if I was Liverpool, if I was Jurgen Klopp, I would just say, listen, go and get me a Luis. Just go get me Luis. If this Lavia deal, let's just say this Lavia deal, or a Kone, just go get me these players, because there's no time to experiment anymore. We started the season. These players didn't even have time to even embed into the team because they didn't have a preseason with us. So we need to within before this week ends, we need to have a DM. Simple as that. No excuses. No, we need to have a DM. And then the centre back can come after, but we need to have a DM before this weekend. It's that simple.
I agree. I agree that defensive mid is definitely the priority over a defender. There is one defensive mid that I think we really missed out on, and I think it's because we went for Szoboszlai first because we like Fabinho and Harrison to go. That's Manuel Ugarte. I feel like this is the one we really missed this window.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
100%.
Like, apart from Caicedo, from Lavia, this is the guy I really missed out on because he had everything that we were looking for. And I think the reason Liverpool weren't looking at him was because he was more of a starter than a project, and they started out looking at projects, and I've now had to move on to starters. So I feel like this is the one we really, really missed out on. So obviously everyone's still mentioning Florentino Luis, who again is the I think I agree with this, is the top player. So Madu Kone, Andre, Kevin Turam. I mean, if I'm being quite honest at this point, like, I think they can all do a job. I don't think Andre's coming until January.
Yeah.
Florentino Luis is probably the best option we have going forward. If they don't sign any other players this summer, they need to sign a defensive mid. I know we've been saying we need 2, we need 3, et cetera, et cetera. In my mind, and I'm pretty sure this is what Jurgen is telling John Henry and, Mike Gordon, Warner, York, Schmecka, Billy Hogan, whoever's on their committee, all the guys. He's like, we just need a defensive mid. That's where we're at right now. All right, guys, just a little quick announcement, guys, before we wrap this up. So we're at 450 people who are watching right now. I appreciate everyone who is watching right now. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We stream every day and do some of these emergency streams here on the LFC Transfer Room. We give you your raw, unfiltered Liverpool opinions here from all over the globe. We got Americans, we got British, we got people from Romania. Like we got everyone here. We even have secret Arsenal and Chelsea fans sometimes
Yeah.
at this point. At this point, our chat. So like if you like what we do here, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. About 10 minutes. So move on to these final 10 minutes. I just want to kind of get into this idea of if nothing happens, and I know I mentioned to you this earlier, Harmony.
Yeah.
If nothing happens, and people have been talking about FSG out, what is the plan if nothing happens? Do we start buying banners at the Anfield? Do we start to organize a committee to force a sale? Do we start doing what United do and force them out? But then we end up like they buy a player and then we're all satisfied at the end. So if nothing happens, what is the next step going forward as a fan base and as a club? How do we recover from these past few days? So Harmy, I'll start with you, and then Ben will come to you.
I think if nothing happens, then to be honest with you, I know I said before, we should start a petition, protesting outside the stadium and everything, but I honestly don't see this affecting FSG. I think the only thing will probably make them want to do is spend money. That'll be it. They won't. I don't think it will actually force them to leave the club, unfortunately. Another thing is that I'm afraid of is if they don't back Klopp this season, like he said, there's been numerous reports saying this, that he would actually walk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different dilemma. So I'm not even going to get into it now because we can be here for another hour talking about that situation. So those are the scenarios I'm looking at. I think the only thing is right now is just we have the money. They've clearly shown that we have the money. Now we just need to invest it into the right players. The Ugarte situation, I believe we should have went for him. He had a release clause. We didn't have to negotiate with the club, but obviously I think Sporting was angry with us because we did something. I can't remember what it was, but they were angry with us. So I think that's probably why they didn't go back in for him. But I feel like we should have. That was someone that we should have got, because all we had to do is pay a release clause and we would have got a player.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, like I said, I don't know anymore. I'm just sick and tired of going on Twitter and I'm just seeing bad news after bad news after. It's just boring. I just want news.
You guys delete Twitter for a few days and just follow the chat. We'll let you know. Just delete it for a couple of days. There's nothing important happening. Like just clear your mind fresh. That would be my suggestion right now for Liverpool fans. Deactivate Twitter for a few days. Go on with your lives. Pick it back up in a few days, and you either be in a really good mood or you'll be back in a bad mood, and then we just start to cycle until something happens. Ben, I'm going to come to you, man. I think that the situation that makes this worse is if Klopp ends up walking, and I'm not going to entertain that idea. But hypothetically, what is the next steps after this?
I mean, weren't they trying to sell the club? I mean, maybe FSG, like, they were just kind of fishing like a year ago, and they were like, oh, we're going to sell. They're like testing the waters because they kind of see where this is headed as well. Like, we need to spend more money, but we're not comfortable doing it. So let's go ahead and sell the club and take our money and walk away. So, maybe we need to go to Qatar and do some handshaking and do our part as fans to show the Qataris how gracious and thankful we are. But I don't know. I mean, I don't see Klopp like walking, but I mean, just looking down the road, like Robertson, he looks old and slow. We arguably need another right back, backup for Trent. We need more center backs. We need more midfielders. Like, I mean, there's a lot more needed than just, we need a defensive mid, like even down the road. So, yeah, something needs to change.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I would probably be more worried. I'd be more worried about Klopp walking if it wasn't for that Miguel Delaney article that said that he was completely focused. And this is before we even signed Lavia. This is probably before we even put the bid in for Moises Caicedo. As far as we understand, Klopp has very good relations with both Mike Gordon, who is his direct contact to John Henry, and Tom Warner, who are essentially the two big guys at FSG. For me, I think the way this goes forward is that Liverpool probably sign I would say in this case, I think Florentino Luis. I think they sign a player. I think they come in and do really well. I don't think we get a center back in this summer, because I feel like if we were going to get one, we would already got one. Jamie is like, be careful what you're dead. Listen, at this point, what else could I do? I brought good cheer to turn to sand. If I start being negative, maybe everything will be positive again. The world is flat. Every north is south, east. Dogs and cats live together, man. At this point, we can't do anything right at this point. It feels like I think, and this is coming into final thoughts, guys, because we're about an hour in right now. 385 people are in the watching right now. Guys, please subscribe and like this video if you want to see more of this content every single day. But just to wrap this up with final thoughts one last time for everyone, and then we'll go through there. I think what we need to do from this point as a fan base is that we just need to, detach ourselves for a bit, kind of get outside, refresh ourselves a bit, go into Bournemouth, make a big noise, go to win the game. If it all falls apart, we'll rally, we'll come together, we'll support Klopp against the owners to force change if we have to. Because I feel like, again, all of us Liverpool fans are pro Klopp. It's not a question of FSG out or FSG in. It's Klopp in. Klopp in is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. Ownership, none of us want to talk about the ownership. Liverpool's ownership should be someone that we don't even think about, but that's not the world we live in right now. So for me, it really just comes down to we back Klopp no matter what. We back the team, we back Klopp. Outside of game time, we will push, we will organize, we'll do what we need to do. That's my final thoughts. Ben, I'll come to you. Harmony will come to you, and we'll end it there.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, Klopp is amazing. I hope he can get, the support he deserves. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think we are going to sign a defensive mid. I always like to be optimistic. So yeah, I think we get someone. Hopefully it turns out well. And, we get a good season and we stand behind the players and the team. And yeah, so passing it on to Harmony now.
Yeah. Harmony, listen, I need your sense in my life. I need to hear that I need Harmony's truths here, and we'll end it there.
I do believe we are going to sign a player. Is it going to be 2 players? I don't know. It's just depending on the first player, how much the first player is going to cost. That might depend on if we're going to get a second player. But I do believe we are going to get a player. But I'm just hoping we do get a centre back as well as a DM, because I feel like Robertson, as much as I love him, I hate the fact that his form is dipping right now because he's such a great player. He's given us so much joy. He came from Hull, and he just dominated ever since he came into the league. And I want him to stay in the team, but going off this last year and the match that I saw today, yeah, I feel like he needs to be sitting on the bench for a little while, just to just take some time and just realize, what, I need to fix up. I need to buckle my ideas because the way I'm playing is not great right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it there, guys. Listen, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing. Everyone, before you leave, please please subscribe. We will be back here tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 British Standard Time. I appreciate, guys, everyone being here. Thank you for joining us. Harmony, thank you for being here. Ben, thank you for being here, guys. We'll call it there. At the end of the day, we're all Liverpool fans, guys. We back each other. We support the team, and that's all that matters. You never walk alone. Up the Reds.